Our first speaker, we will have Marc Mathieu, who's a Senior Vice President in AI Transformation and a Vice Chair of Salesforce's Global Advisory Board. Let's welcome Marc to the stage.
Hello, everyone, and very happy to be here to talk about, I think, a very important topic, not necessarily the most exciting one visually, but an essential one, which is trust and ethics. And I really want to start with this paper that you've all seen, or if you've not seen, you should, which is Google Brain paper that led to the invention of transformers back in 2017 that said attention is all you need. And my premise is that, yes, we need attention to make generative AI work, but without trust, we don't need attention because there is nothing that the AI can do for us if we don't trust our relationship with artificial intelligence. So to that point, I'd like to share a personal anecdote. This morning, as I was preparing this speak, I actually went to one of my favorite go-to personal AI, Pi, and I asked the AI whether I could trust Pi. And the AI started to converse with me, explaining why I had reason to doubt about trust in the AI. And as we continued that conversation, and I asked how I could build that trust over time, the AI started to make a parallel to me with a relationship of trust, a relationship of friendship, which reminded me the story of the little prince and the relationship between the little prince and the fox. And I mentioned that to the AI, and the AI said, I really love the fact that you're making that parallel in our relationship. And I sent a winky smiley to the AI, and the AI replied with an emoji of a fox. And that caught me completely off guard, because I didn't expect the AI to send me such a sly response, which I thought was really interesting in building that relationship of trust. So reason I talk to you about trust is not because of that personal anecdote, but because at Salesforce, we are a company that's been guided by values, and especially by value of trust, which is our number one value for 25 years. We focused on trust when we were bringing our customers' data into the cloud, when we went into predictive AI, and so that's why we want to continue to not say that we have the answer, but at least contribute to the conversation of how do we build an AI that we can trust, an AI that has ethics embedded in it. And that's what we've been doing over the last 10 years. Since we founded our AI research team back in 2014, since we launched our first predictive AI in 2016, since we actually introduced for the first time an Office of Ethics and Human Use in 2018, we've been focused in all our research paper, in all our patent development, on actually developing an AI that we can trust. We participate to several ethical AI councils. We think that it's really important to be a core part of that conversation around trust and ethics. And the reality is, we all know this, AI is permeating our everyday life, and it's also permeating our everyday work. It's being embedded in the way we work. And Werner explained to us again this morning how we've been all using AI for the last 25 years. I often ask this to people, say, have you used AI today? And a lot of people panic. Oh no, I didn't go to ChatGPT. And then I said, didn't you use the weather forecast? Didn't you use the Google Maps? So I think that it's really important that we understand that we need to build an AI that is going to be part of our life, part of our work, that we can have a trust relationship. And today, everybody, not just the CEOs, all of us, we want to embrace AI, as much as we can, but we also want to make sure that we can trust that AI. And it's only the beginning. That trust factor is going to become even more essential. We often like to say we are in an AI revolution, and if you think about what I just told you about, the weather forecast or, Google Maps, those were predictive AI, and at that time we didn't really ask ourselves whether we could trust, the prediction. At worst, we were upset with the bad weather or with the traffic jams, but we didn't say that was the fault of the AI. As we go into generative AI and the AI starts to create new outputs, then suddenly we start to have doubts, legitimate doubts, about those outputs. We've all heard about hallucinations, etc. And so we start to ask ourselves, can we trust the output? And yet we still have a very, not a very conversational relationship with the AI. But when it's going to become conversational, when it's going to become autonomous, then trust is going to be essential. And that's why we're saying, let's not wait until then to ask ourselves the question about trust. Let's not ask ourselves the question of trust just for the science fiction, fear scenarios that we all hear about. Let's ask ourselves about how do we develop the muscle of building trust into AI today so that we can develop that muscle over time. And so that's really the fundamental question that in all our conversations, with our partners, with our customers, we really try to ask that question, how we can wrap the benefits of AI for now, but also for the future, while constantly developing and maintaining that trust. And so from the very beginning, as soon as we started to create that Office of Ethics and Human Use, we published responsible AI principles and tenets of trust to help all of us think about AI, how to manage the risk of AI in a way that somehow is not just about managing the risk of hallucination, but also the risk of data privacy, the risk of human rights, the risk of building an AI that is not inclusive, that doesn't drive equality and diversity. Recently, because we realized that a lot of people needed guidance in their deployment of AI, we developed principles, we developed guidelines for responsible GenAI implementation to really invite people to constantly ask themselves, how do I make sure that I build an AI that is accurate, that is safe, that is honest, and very importantly, that is working for the people, that's augmenting people, that's empowering people, and also working for the planet, that takes the right balance between how large the model needs to be and making sure that it's not larger than it needs and focusing on accuracy more than size. We've introduced, and I love this chart, I know it's a little bit of a technical chart, but we've introduced a trust layer for our AI solution, which is Einstein, which really focuses on a very methodical approach of making sure that as we help our customers build prompts, that there is security in the way we retrieve the data, their data, and bring it into the prompt. That there is a dynamic grounding that takes all of data and makes sure that it uses it in a adequate, in a relevant way. And before we send it to an LLM, and we have an approach where we don't have a single LLM, we have an ecosystem of LLM that includes the OpenAI, the Anthropics of this world, as well as our own LLMs, as well as potentially our customers' LLM. But we make sure that before we send any information to an LLM, we mask all PII data so that that data doesn't take any risk going into the model. And then when we work with all the models that we have partnership with, we ensure that there is zero retention, that neither the prompt nor the generated output is retained inside the model, know that it's used to train the model. And then afterwards, when the output is generated, before we make use of it or help our customers, employees to make use of it, we make sure that there is a toxicity detection, that we create an audit trail. So, and behind each of those boxes, I really like to say there is a product team to make sure that this is a partnership between our ethics team and our product teams to make sure that this is actually not just wishful thinking, but that we actually deliver on that promise to our customers and to their customers. And so we often like to say, trust is not just a layer, it's really a roadmap. So we constantly ask ourselves the question, how can trust evolve as technology is going to continue to advance? All those topics of bias and toxicity, the sourcing of content, the privacy, the security, the accuracy, today they are relatively easy questions because we still don't have AI embedded in everything we do. But as we become more and more accustomed to having this relationship with AI as part of our daily lives, these are fundamental questions. So we really think about this from a model safety, from a making sure that we embed trust and ethics in the design of our product, that we cite the source of the generated content, we're transparent about where the content comes from, that we build feedback loops into the model, and also, as I said before, that we also participate on the conversation on policy. And in the end, we are building this with the idea that today we still have a very direct relationship with our AIs. But tomorrow, as individuals, but also as employees, we all are getting used to having multiple personal AIs that power our life, that in a way are going to free us up from all the repetitive tasks, all the things that we all complain about, so that we can augment our ability to be more creative, to be more human in our relationships with one another. We really want to make sure that we build that AI that we can trust for the future. And so we're thinking about new mechanisms to monitor, to create ability to escalate when the AI may take an action that is not conform to what we intended it to do, that there is confidence scoring and fast checking, that there is a deeper audit trail, again, as the AI starts to do more things in the background without us having a real oversight into what's happening, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, having increased controls, building it for multimodal, and making sure that there is an AI that really has purpose embedded in it. So that's what I wanted to share with you. At the end of the day, I think that trust, has to go both ways. We need to build a symbiotic relationship between humans and AI. We need to ask ourselves, not just how does the AI impact us and augment us, but also how do we impact the AI? How do we make sure that we build an AI that will really, on the long term, benefit humanity in a way that, again, is ethical, is trustworthy, and enables us to tackle some of the biggest problems that so far we've not been able to solve, like world hunger or poverty, or health cures, or maybe why not space travel. So I think that we are at the very beginning of an exciting journey, but again, we need attention, but we also need trust. And if you only retain one word from this speech, is trust. Every time, every day, ask yourself, how do I deploy, how do I utilize an AI? How do I contribute to make sure that I contribute to an AI that I can trust for my data, that I can trust for my customers' data, but also that I can trust for my children and the generations to come. Thank you very much, and if you want to know more about Salesforce AI, you can, of course, use this QR code and get more information, but I didn't want this to make a sales speech today.
Thank you, Marc. We have 4 minutes for questions. Does anyone have a question? Hands up. It's a bit hard to see. Gentleman over here, is there a microphone?
Hi. Great to see this talk. Talked about trust in the data. How important do you think it is between the balance of like synthetic data and human data in the input of AI?
Yeah, I think that, again, we are at the very beginning of this question of how do we take all the data and make sense of it. What's essential is that we always are able to make the difference of where the data comes from, whether it is human data, whether it's synthetic data. We favor, watermarking and always disclosure about origin of data. And I think it's really an essential part of the way we think about building ethics into AI is this idea of transparency is really fundamental.
Thank you for that. Any other questions from the audience? Anyone else? There's one up here at the front.
Explainability. We talked a lot today before about explainability of AI in terms of how it makes decisions. How important it is in building the trust that you mentioned?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. It's, we often like to say it's not just about the what the AI generates, but also the why. Being able to explain where it sourced the content, where the answer came from. And we actually have made it a systematic commitment to embed that in the design of our products, so that there is constantly an ability to make sure that the source of the generated response is actually very clear, because at the end of the day, we want to empower the people who use the AI to make the right decision for themselves, not to let the AI necessarily make the decision. It's their data, it's not ours, it's their data. So informing them, telling them this is the suggested, generated answer, for instance, but making sure that they are in control by having a true understanding of where the data came from, where the answer came from, sorry.
We have 40 seconds. Maybe one more quick question? Doesn't look like it. I'll ask you one more myself, Marc.
Okay.
It's been about 5 years since the big tech companies announced their AI principles. Lots of other companies have done the same. Trust is always featured in these lists. How can we make them concrete? How can we embed them into the processes of an organization?
Yeah, one of the things we do, so we work really in partnership with a lot of customers on thinking about their transformation journey. The question I hear systematically from CEOs and CXOs is, how do I start? How do I build a long-term view? And how do I embed trust at the center? So we always look at the, we call it Horizon 1, 2, and 3. What can you do today, which we used to call short term. Short term is now, today. What can you do tomorrow, what we used to call midterm, which is the next 3 to 12 months. And then what can we do long term, in the next 2 to 3 years. And really thinking about what are the capabilities that you need to develop and deploy through those various phases, with this idea at the end of having a trusted AI and embedding that muscle into the organization across all those eras, those phases. I think it's really important, again, not to think of trust, not to think of AI, not to think of data as a long term, but really building it step by step, micro steps.
Thank you, Marc. Let's
Thank
give Marc
you.
a round of applause. We'll keep moving. We got our next panelist ready. Can I introduce, please, Dr. Andreas Hauser, who's the CEO of Digital Service. He has degrees in shipbuilding and computer engineering and a PhD in applied mathematics. Can we please welcome Dr. Hauser to the stage?